Everyone, let us chant from verses 6 to 15 of chapter 10. Maharshaya saptapurve chatvaro manavastatha madbhava manasa jataha yesham lokahima prajaha etam vibhutim yogam cha mama yo vetti tatpatah sovikambena yogena yujyate natra samshayah aham sarvasya prabhavah mattah sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante ma buddha bhava samanvitaha macchitta madgata pranaha bodhayanta parasparam kathayantascha mam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha tesham satata yuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mamupayanti te teshamevanukampatham aham ajnanajam tamaha nashayam yatma bhavastah jnanadipena bhaswata. Arjuna uvacha param brahma param dhama pavitram paramam bhavan purusham shashvatam divyam adidevam vibhum ahustvam rishayas sarve devarshi naradastatha asito devalo vyasaha swayam chaiva bhavishime sarvametadritham manye yanmam vadasi keshava nahi te bhagavan vyaktim vidurdevana Svayamevatmanatmanam vedhatvam purushottama bhuta bhavana bhutesha deva deva jagatpate.
Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Saha Viryankaravavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti. Yeah. There are a couple of clarifications. We will take it up first and then we'll move on to the text. Yes. First, a clarification by Mala from the previous class. Could you take up the reasons for arguments in the family where everyone tries to blame others? There is a sense of I am right, you are wrong feeling among my siblings. and they shout at the top of their voice, including bad languages sometimes. Okay. I tend to correct, educate them, which I understand is wrong, and I will correct. You said we should keep quiet. Maybe we should plug our ears with cotton. And how to handle the always complaining nature of my mother. There is always something complaining. It really affects. What should I do? Question. There is always the tendency in everybody, I am right, you are wrong. What does one do? Is the question. I am right, you are wrong. What does one do? What can one do in that situation? Should we try to correct them, or put cotton plugs in the ears? Mala. காதுல பஞ்சு வச்சுக்கோங்க அவ்வளவுதான். Nothing should be done. Just put cotton plugs in the ears. Everybody has this notion. It's not only your siblings. It's not unique to you and your family. Universally it is. I am right, you are wrong. There is no argument here. Statements are only made. There is nobody discusses anything. Everybody makes statements. That's all. I am right, you are wrong is a statement. Where is the discussion in that? Discussion means let us sit and explore what is right, what is wrong, and then who's right, who's wrong. That is discussion. Nobody discusses. Everybody keeps making statements only. Lot of training is required to have a discussion. Naturally, we all நமக்கே தனியா பேசிக்கிறதுக்கு பேர் என்ன? சாலுலக்கி. Even when there are 10 people, everybody does only salulaki. They keep talking. They keep talking. Whether other is listening or not is not a matter of concern at all. To have a discussion requires a lot of training. Since people don't have the training, there is no discussion at all that happens anywhere. If at all there is any discussion, there is no discussion. They will want you to do something. That's all. First of all, there is no discussion at all. If at all there is any discussion, the end of the discussion, the purpose of the discussion is what? Wanting you to do something. Therefore, what is discussion amongst anybody? Discussion means we are interested in knowing what is right, what is wrong, and then who's right, who is wrong. Since this kind of discussion never happens anywhere, what happens? Everybody starts talking. When one person is talking, the other person pretends to be listening, but the other is not listening because mentally they are talking already. Again, I repeat, when you start talking, when the other is not talking, don't misunderstand the other is listening. The other is already building up the arguments. So they are already talking amongst themselves. You give a break, they will start talking, that's all. Yeah, you give a break, they will start talking. Therefore, and when 2-3 people talk at the same time, what will happen? Volume will naturally rise, isn't it? Because everybody wants to be heard. Everybody wants to be heard. Therefore, what is the way to get heard? Raise the volume. More the volume is raised, more entertaining it will get, isn't it? It's more fun, it's more entertaining. What do you do? What does one do It can be family, it can be anywhere. What does one do? The understanding is you cannot do anything. You just cannot do anything. Why you cannot do anything? Because the other is trying to convince you and you are trying to convince the other. The other is so genuinely convinced that what you are doing is wrong. And you are so genuinely convinced what the other is doing is wrong. You follow? The other is so genuinely convinced that going and sitting in the Vedanta class is the greatest harm that can happen to you. The other is so convinced about it. What can you do? I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Vedanta class is right or wrong. I'm not saying one person is genuinely convinced that it saves their life. There is another person who is genuinely convinced that it is destroying your life. Therefore, all arguments is of what? You have a conviction and you want to convince the other about your conviction. Are you able to follow? You have a conviction and you want to convince the other. And when the other is not convinced, obviously you will get angry. Why? Because desire is interrupted. What is a desire? A very deep-rooted desire. To convince the other is a very deep-rooted desire. When that desire to convince the other is not happening, when the desire is interrupted, obviously what will happen? You will get angry. You follow? Next question that she is asking is how to handle the mother who is constantly finding fault. How to handle the mother who is constantly finding fault. She is not finding fault. Fault is there. First thing, understand that. She is not finding fault. Fault is there. It is dvandvas. There is a fault. What has to be done is you need to learn to live with it, that's all. Again, I repeat. Is there no fault and is she hallucinating it? Is anybody hallucinating? No, there are faults. Why? Because the very nature of world is dvandvas. The very nature of all human beings is mixture. We have seen this any number of times. The world is mishram, mixture. We have seen that any number of times. Objects are mishram by nature. Beings are mishram by nature. The moment you understand all are mishram by nature, definitely there will be a fault. All that you can do is what? One thing you can do. What? One is to rectify it. Another is to say, I have nothing to do with it. Again, one is to rectify it. Another is, I have nothing to do with it. Vedanta says, say, I have nothing to do with it. You follow? So, fault is there. Understand that. Because the world is mishram by nature. Mishram means mixed. Something in you will be acceptable, something in you will not be acceptable. That's why we always talk about it as a package. If you understand it as a package, you will stop complaining. If you understand everything is a package, complaining will stop. if you don't understand the package, if you don't see that so many things on the package you have no control, you will stop complaining. Again, it is a package, and so many things on the package you have no control. So all that you got to do is what? Where there is no control, where there is no what you cannot do anything about it, what can you do? You can only say, I have nothing to do with it. I have nothing to do with this. 3. Fault doesn't take away your obligations. Again, I repeat. There is a fault, and the fault doesn't take away your obligations. With the fault, without the fault, you continue your obligations. Because you are a beneficiary of the faulty also, no? Isn't it? You are a beneficiary of the faulty also. Because it's a package. You are a beneficiary of the package. You having become the beneficiary of the package, what you got to do? You continue to serve irrespective of what it is. You follow? Always remember this. The mistake that I talk about others will be the mistake that I will be doing million times more. You may not agree with this. Nobody will agree with this. Turkey and the ant poem. Remember the poem Turkey and the ant. The crime that you are complaining about will be the crime that you will be committing million times. But you won't see it. You won't know it. So every time there is a complaint and there is a reaction, it's a very good mirror to look at yourself. It's a very good mirror to look at yourself. What is the mirror? Do I have that fault? If I have the fault, I'll be grateful to that person for pointing it out and correct. If I don't have the fault, you say, I move on. But never entertain a conversation with that other person saying, why did you think so? Why are you accusing me? That you should not do. Are you able to follow? I should set things right, no, sir. Isn't it? See, they're having some wrong opinions about me. They're having some wrong understanding about me. Isn't it my duty to explain it? Family implies love. Love implies no explanation required. Remember that. Family implies love. Love requires no explanation. Family implies gratitude. Gratitude requires no setting records straight and all. It says, they say, it's okay and you will move on. What you can do to help that person, what you can do to serve that person. You follow what I'm saying? Very, very important is to know how to handle this, how to handle the situation. So, that in the poem Turkey and the Ant, when the turkey was killing millions of ants for a breakfast, it is complaining about the human being killing a turkey, one turkey once in a year for Christmas. Here you remark another sin, bid thy own conscience look within. He says, the ant says, before you remark another sin, Bid thy own conscience look within. This is dharma. This is the definition of dharma. What is the definition of dharma? What you do not want others to do to you, you don't do it to another. That's all. It starts there and it ends there. You follow? But they are doing it, sir. If they are doing it, you have nothing to do. You have nothing to do with it. But is it not my duty to correct them? Remember, your duty is to serve them. In that service, they will get corrected. In that service, they will get corrected. What is the correction the other will happen? In spite of me being stinging all the time, in spite of me being bitter all the time, how the person is continuing to remain affectionate. That's how you help another. Are you able to follow? In spite of the person stinging, in spite of the person being bitter, in spite of the person constantly complaining, whipping, you still continue to show your affection and you serve. This is how you do things. Are you able to follow? All because of what? You love. Why? Because you love. Sharia, Mala, is it okay? Yes. Ramakrishna Paramahansa's example, always remember, nature of the scorpion is to sting, nature of Ramakrishna is to save. Nature of scorpion is to sting, nature of Ramakrishna is to save. Oh my God, that should be the way to live life. Ramakrishna asked his friend, will you ever give a lecture to the scorpion and say, don't sting? You can give a lecture to the scorpion. Can the scorpion understand that? You can give a lecture to the scorpion. That man is trying to save you. Why don't you be grateful to that person and at least stop stinging? Scorpion says, I don't know what you are talking and all, but anybody touches me, I will sting. For I do not know how to discriminate whether that person is touching me to save me or to harm me. Scorpion doesn't know that. So what it will do? It will keep stinging. Are you able to follow? Just as scorpion continues to sting, I will continue to save. For how long? Sir, if you live life like that, others will take advantage of you, no? Others will never know. I don't know what all people think. You are showing, you are living by example. What is living by example? Irrespective of the sting, let me serve. Irrespective of the sting, let me serve. Seriya? This is first question. Second question. Question by Ranjini. Chapter 10, verse 10. Okay. Chapter 10, verse 10. Okay. Stubborn, indulgent mind is not cooperating for effort. Avikampena yogan. So samadhana beda. Okay. Okay. Samadhana beda danda. What is the meaning of samadhana, beda, and danda? 4 methods. Sama means, in that context, okay, to give the context of the question, the stubborn, indulgent mind doesn't cooperate. So you try various methods to make the mind cooperate. First is the method of Sama. Sama means what? Samadhanam. trying to educate, trying to give logic and reason to the mind. சமாதானமா போயிடலாம் அப்படின்ற, that is சாம. Then comes தான. அது டீ போடக்கூடாது, டி போடணும் அங்க. சாம தான இல்லையா, தானன்னு போட்டிருக்கிறாங்க இல்லையா, அது தானா கிடையாது, இட் இஸ் தான. தான மீன்ஸ் யூ டெம்ப்ட் வித் சம் கிஃப்ட். Another method to make the mind, see, you want the mind to cooperate. At the end of the day, you want the mind to cooperate. Now, how do you make the mind to cooperate? First method is logic, reason. Then comes dana. What is dana? Dana means ஒழுங்கா டேபிள்ஸ்லாம் படிச்சா ஐஸ்கிரீம் ஐ வில் பை தட் ஈவினிங். You tell the child, isn't it? You tell the child that if you read a mathematics table, all that, and write it 5 times and show it to me in the afternoon, I will get you a ice cream. Because you can't tell the child, you know how tables are very important in the future. When you go to higher classes, you will be studying algebra, you will be studying trigonometry, you will be studying calculus. Adukalla, this is very important. You can give all that lecture, but the child cannot understand. Therefore, what is another method you try? Dana. Dana here means tempting with some gift. Tempting with some gift. Sama, dana. Bheda. Bheda means create a segregation. Don't allow the mind to associate. Create a bheda. Bheda means segregation. Segregation means what? Do not allow the mind to associate with that which is triggering indulgences. That is bheda. அங்க ஒரு segregation create பண்ணி வெளில வந்துடணும். Divide. Never allow the mind to get into the area of another method, that is samadana bheda. Are you able to follow till now? Bheda means you have temptations. There are situations that is very tempting. What is bheda? Forcefully tell yourself that you will not associate with that. Create the bheda. Division. Division means what? You will not forcefully. Sama, dana, bheda. If all these 3 mind doesn't cooperate, what is the 4th method? Danda. Dandana punishment nu artham. Tamil dandanainu சொல்றாங்க அர்த்தம். Danda literally means a stick. Stick na என்ன அர்த்தம்? போலீஸ்காரர் வச்சிருக்கிற ஸ்டிக் மாதிரி அது இல்லையா? Like a lathi it is. You give a punishment. That's why I gave the examples. Three types of horses, Ananda. Buddha says there are 3 types of horses. One is logic and reason is enough. You educate the mind, it will understand. That is the best horse. The horse is refusing to move. The shadow of the whip is enough. Yeah. Whip is not even take. The shadow of the whip is enough to make it move. Second is the cracking sound of the whip. You know, the whip makes a cracking sound. The cracking sound of the whip is enough to make the horse move. Third one is what? Take and actually, what is the third one? The lowest horse. You have to take the whip and keep one whack you give of the 4 legs, only 1 leg will move. The moon அப்படியே தான் இருக்கும். Another whip. That is called danda. The way in which you try to seek cooperation from the mind that is non-cooperating is samadana bheda danda. When Krishna went for negotiations before the war, samadana bheda danda. First he spoke logic and reason. Then he said, at least give some. Third thing, he said, don't segregate. Then he started telling somebody, don't associate with these guys. Veda. Are you able to follow? Finally, what happened? The war. Having decided the danda, there should not be weak pity after that. That's why we all get into danda without enough of the other three. So halfway down, we will start having weak pity. We start crying, isn't it? Before the other person cries, you start crying. No. Samadhana, Veda, Danda. This is the 4 methods by which you make the non-cooperative mind cooperate. The same principle can be applied to any the negotiation skills. All negotiations will fall under in the 4 formula. Raj, correct? Huh? Or post doctoral research la mandrar idilla. Ille samadhana veda danda. Isn't it? All negotiations will fall under these 4 fundamental formulas only, and it will be a mixed match. It will be a mixed match. But nevertheless, it is this 4. Samadhana veda danda. Able to follow? Which is what I said. The stubborn, indulgent mind has to be persuaded. First you persuade, and then you give logic and reason, like what he did in the 3rd chapter. Intellectual appeal for action and then emotional appeal for action. In that emotional appeal for action, fear, threat, all that makes the mind to do what it ought to do. What is the difficulty? The mind is refusing to do what it ought to do and doing that which it should not be doing. What is the problem of the mind? The problem of the mind is 2. It will do that which it should not be doing. Second is what? It will not do that which it ought to do. Now, how to make this mind like the I don't know what to call this mind. Asura, Rakshasa, this sitting inside. How to make it Samadhana, Veda, Danda. Okay? This is the first question. Next question. Question number 2. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, verse 11. What is verse 11? Out of mere compassion for them dwelling as self, I dispel the darkness born of ignorance by the shining lamp of wisdom. Would you please give the 10 points of comparison by Madhusudana Saraswati between knowledge and light? Jnana Deepite. இவங்க மதுசூதன சரஸ்வதியில அவரை படிச்சுட்டு வராங்க போல இருக்கு. I didn't know from where she reads Madhusudana Saraswati and all. Yeah. Spelling is tappu முதல்ல, isn't it? Madhusudana Saraswati, knowledge, and from where they read all that and come and ask clarifications. I'll give you the comparison now. I'll give you the comparison. நான் சொன்னேன் இந்த மாதிரி ஏதாவது லாஸ்ட் கிளாஸ்ல ஞான தீபிகை. Beautiful is the comparison. Look at the verse. He says, I will bless with buddhi yoga out of compassion. Out of compassion, I will bless with buddhi yoga. And what is this buddhi yoga? Jnana dipite. And he gives a comparison. Compassion is because of what? See, compassion is when you see someone suffering and you have identification with them, you want to help them out, is compassion. Are you able to follow? When someone is suffering and you have an identification with that person, first is you should recognize the other is suffering. Second is You should have an identification. Most of the times you are so preoccupied, you don't even notice other is suffering. Even when you notice other is suffering, what will you say? அப்ப என்ன ஆட்டம் ஆடினாங்க சார், என்னெல்லாம் ஆட்டம் ஆடினாங்க, அதுக்கெல்லாம் you feel that they deserve that pain. You feel that they deserve that pain. So first is you see somebody in pain. Second is you have love for them. You see someone in suffering and you have love for them and you want to help them out. This is called compassion. And your compassion will work only when the other cooperates. Are you able to understand? Your compassion will work only when the other cooperates. When the other is not cooperating, your compassion will not work. This is the biggest problem of the one who has compassion. Because he is so compassionate, the knowledge is there, the understanding is there, the energy is there to help the other, and the other simply doesn't cooperate. I give you Jnana Deepite. I light. What does he light? Lighting the lamp of knowledge. See, first we have to understand lighting the lamp of the knowledge is not a physical job. But to make it look like a physical job, he gives an example of lighting the lamp next. So first is what is known as lighting the lamp of knowledge. What is that? Okay, how does any knowledge is lighted? How does any knowledge is lighted? Any knowledge is lighted only by consistent teaching. Again, I repeat. Any knowledge is lighted only by consistent, not teaching. Consistent teaching. And if consistent teaching should be there, for consistent teaching to happen, what is required? The student should consistently listen. Ram Subramanian, purida? Any knowledge is lighter only by consistent teaching. For no other method by which knowledge can be lit. For example, if you have to learn mathematics, let us say, the teacher is interested in teaching you mathematics. What can the teacher do? What can the teacher do? The teacher cannot say, come, all of you students stand in line one by one. I will touch your head with my hand. In 2 minutes, I'll transfer all that through my hands into your head. Go. Can knowledge be transferred like that? Or can knowledge be taught like, don't do? In a path near go. You keep looking at me, I keep looking at you. You keep looking at my eyes, I'll keep looking at your eyes. Today it will transfer. How much? Morning you do namaskara, evening you do namaskara. Before the class you do prostration, after the class you do prostration. Class lang kadayadu, only prostration. Can knowledge be lit? The only way to light the knowledge of mathematics is what? Consistent, systematic teaching. Remember that. Are you able to follow? It is consistent, systematic teaching. Out of compassion, there is consistent, systematic teaching. But for that compassion to take effect, what is required? If the student is not there, what will the teacher do? Therefore, that systematic teaching, systematic, consistent teaching is called lighting the lamp. The systematic, consistent teaching is called lighting the lamp. Compassion is what here? I will provide the opportunity and I will teach you consistently, systematically, out of anukampartha, out of mere compassion. Out of mere compassion, what I will do? Out of mere compassion, what will I do? Krishna is saying, what will I do? I will consistently teach. I will systematically teach. Consistent, systematic teaching is the way to light the lamp. Having said this, he comes with a beautiful comparison. Question is with the comparison. What is the comparison? 10 points of comparison. Maybe flow la 10 சொன்னா நோவோ இல்லையா? 8வது எங்க 9வது எங்கெல்லாம் கேள்வி கேட்காதீங்க இல்லையா? Now literally the 10. There are a few aspects of comparison. So he's saying, out of compassion, I'm teaching you. Teaching is required where there is ignorance. Teaching is required where there is ignorance. And what is the ignorance? What is the ignorance? In the context of Bhakti Yoga, what is the ignorance? I am different, God is different is the ignorance. I am different, God is different. I am here, God is there. I am inferior, God is superior. This distinction is the ignorance in the context of Bhakti Yoga. Therefore, what he says, I am removing the ignorance. I am removing this ignorance by lighting the lamp. Yeah. Hippo comparisons. Beautiful is that example. And any example that these masters come up with, be it the Upanishadic examples or be it the Bhagavad Gita Upamana comparisons, it is so penetrative, it is so beautiful. Yeah. இன்னைக்கு in the lighting the lamp is not an example at all because எல்லாம் switch தான், isn't it? Switch போடுறதுனால we don't even understand what is lighting the lamp. எதுக்கு சார்? The light is designed like a lamp, isn't it? Switch போட்டுட்டா அது பாட்டில் லைட் எரியற மாதிரி அப்படியே இருந்துகிட்டே இருக்கும். No, you should actually light the lamp because it's a beautiful symbolism. That symbolism is the comparison here. That symbolism is the comparison. A protected enclosure is needed. First thing, a protected enclosure is needed. What is that protected enclosure for Jnanam now? Now I'll tell you for the lamp and then we'll equate it to Jnanam. Abdi pannalam. Are you able to follow? First is a protected enclosure is needed. What is a protected enclosure? Vairagyam is that protected enclosure. For the lighting the lamp, first thing is a protected enclosure is needed. That's why they say close all the doors and windows, no? Correct? Right in the middle of the ground, you cannot light the lamp. Why? Because, so therefore, first thing, a protected enclosure. What is a protected enclosure? Vairagyam. Vairagyam, association with the Guru, the presence of the Guru. These are all called the protected enclosure. Second, the vessel that holds the oil holder. There are different different things, isn't it? இல்ல சார் எங்க ஆத்துல எப்படி பண்றது கிடையாது. We use 1, we use 5, we use 7, doesn't matter. Use 1, that's all. You light the lamp. Mind is the holder. Mind is the holder. Oil. Oil is the grace of God. It is God's grace, the oil. The wick is the buddhi. The wick that you have is the buddhi. ஏன்னா புத்தி இருக்கணும் இல்லையா? ஆயில் இருக்கலாருக்கும் விக் இல்லைன்னு என்ன பிரயோஜனம் இல்லையா? So the wick is the buddhi இல்லையா? The first thing that you light is not a stable thing. Like a matchstick you strike, it's not a stable light. It is so wavery. It can blow off anytime. Your own breathing can put it off sometimes, isn't it? You don't need anything from outside. Your own breathing can put off the thing. There is a conducive air, there is an unfavorable wind. For the light to glow, there is a conducive air and unfavorable wind. What is unfavorable wind? That you should know by now. What is unfavorable wind? Raga, Dvesha, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Mada, Matsarya, Bhaya. Idallam the unfavorable wind. The unfavorable wind the enclosure protects. But at the same time, it should give, the enclosure should not take away all the wind. So some favorable wind is also required. So the unfavorable is taken away and the favorable is maintained. What is a favorable? Your earning, your intense longing, your intense earning. எல்லாம் ரெடியா இருக்குது. You are lighting and lighting and lighting. The wick is not catching. What are the types of buddhis? Kari buddhi. What are the type of buddhis we have seen in some other in some other cases? Yeah. Karpura buddhi, Kari buddhi, Vadamatta buddhi, plant and stem. Yeah. Karpura buddhi is what? Idealist. Kari buddhi, கொஞ்சம் effort போட்டா ஊதி அப்படியே you can bring it alive. The plant and stem buddhi, nothing, it is so wet, nothing can be done. How much ever you light, nothing will happen in that. Yeah. So what is the wick has to be there, and you refine the wick. You refine the wick. How do you refine the wick? They soak it in oil first, isn't it? The wick is soaked in oil. The wick is there and it is soaked in oil. It is soaked in oil. And what we said as oil? The grace of God. When all these things put together, you light the lamp, the glow comes and everything is visible. What Madhusudana Saraswati does is, he just takes all that we do to light the lamp, all the preparation that we do to light the lamp, he takes one by one and elaborates. That's all. He's so aware of what we are doing to light the lamp. When the glow comes, it reveals everything. Knowledge reveals everything. What is the revelation? What is the revelation? Aikyam is the revelation. Aikyam. What is the revelation? Aikyam. The two should become one. That's all. The two should become one, because as long as it is the two, there is a pain, the pain of separation. Now the two should become one. So he says, by lighting the lamp, when the glow comes, the room is visible. So he says, anukampartena jnanadipena bhasvata. This is by lamp of wisdom. By lamp of wisdom, I make it happen. I make it happen. Why do I make it happen? Compassion. What is the compassion? What is the compassion? See, compassion is when you see them suffering and there is no need for suffering. That is compassion. Again, I repeat, when you see someone suffering and you and you understand that that person doesn't need, that there's no need to suffer. Where there is no need to suffer, why are they unnecessarily suffering? That is compassion. You follow? Out of mere compassion for them dwelling as self, I dispel the darkness born of ignorance by the shining lamp of wisdom. I dispel the darkness. When he says I dispel the darkness, means I am available, I make it happen, but you should also cooperate. Everything is done. I have made, everything is done. The external environment, the internal environment, everything is done. How do you know that? How do you know that? He has said already, no? Isn't it? He said it already. What did he say? I am the internal world and I am the external world. Verses 1 to 11, chapter 10, if you remember. First to in 4, 5, 6, he said, I am the internal world. Internal world of what is happening inside the individual. And then he said, I am the internal and I am the external. I alone in the form of the internal and I alone in the form of external. All this he has said already. This is the light. This is the lamp of wisdom. Are you able to understand now? Beautiful verses, beautiful topic from verses 1 to 11. இதுக்கு அப்புறமா so many symbols is going to give to see God. Since we are not able to see God everywhere, he is going to give so many symbols, so many examples is going to give, so many opportunities is going to give to make us see God. That is Vibhuti Yoga. The philosophical content is over here. Then comes the actual symbolic portion now. From verse number 12 onwards, the symbolic portion will start. Symbolic portion means he will give you so many areas. You can see me here like this. You can see me here like this. You can see me here like this. This consistent teaching is compassion. This consistent teaching, I am everywhere. I am everywhere. He takes up so many things and he says, I am this, I am this, I am this. This is what Vibhuti Yoga. Vibhuti means symbols. Vibhuti Yoga means the yoga of symbolism. Symbolism is what? You see that, but you understand it differently. You see one thing, but what you understand is different. That is called symbolism, correct? You see a Ganesha, but you understand something. You don't say, elephant head, human body, creature. You will not say that, no? Will you say that? When you see a Lord Narasimha, Ganesha kuda Lord solla vendam. Narasimha Lord sollanum. Illana he will get angry, isn't it? So when you see a Lord Narasimha, you understand the symbolism. Do you follow what I'm saying? So 76 vibhutis is going to give from now onwards. And then he will conclude by saying, it is an infinitesimal portion, Arjuna. What do you think? What do you think? This is ஒண்ணுமே கிடையாது. The list that I gave you is nothing. Vibhuti yoga. Are you able to follow? Clarifications over. Oh, okay. Okay. Chapter 10, verse 6. Anshu has gone back to verse 6 now. Okay. What is her problem in 6? The 7 great sages, the ancient 4, and the Manus, with their being in me, were born of mind. From them are these creatures of the world. This is verse number 6. Verse number 6 reads, the 7 great sages, the ancient 4, and the Manus, with their being in me, were born of mind. From them are these creatures of the world. Question. The 7 great sages, the ancient 4, and the Manus, with their being in me, were born of mind. Please explain again, born of mind. Again, I already explained to Anshu. So you see, please explain again. Any number of times we can explain. Born of mind. The 7 and the 4. 7 plus 4 is 11. Abram Manu. All these Manus are referred as 14 Manus. 14 Manus la ipo 8th Manu nenikiren. Nammaloda category la ipo. So many Manus. So all these combined is the source of the creation. They are the source of the creation. Story goes like this first. Then we will come to the symbolism. The story goes like this. Brahma created the four Sanat Kumaras. And he said, go and create the world. And the 4 பேர் என்ன பண்ணாங்க? No, we don't want to go and create, no, we want to go back. They went to Dakshinamurti, they did that. Sanat Kumaras. And then Brahma thought, I made a mistake in that 4. So next time when I create with a temptation so that they will go into the world. They will never come inward. So what he did, then he rectified the mistake now. First what he created. And when he created, how he created? With the capacity to perform yajna, karma, etc. As he says in chapter 3, he created Sanat Kumaras used all that and went back. Now Brahma thought, ipudi panna creation la can't sustain. Therefore, he created the rest. Now, what is this? What is born of mind now? Anything that is born of mind appears to be there, but in reality, it won't be there. That is born of mind. Again, I repeat. Anything that is born of mind means it appears to be there, but in reality, it won't be there. That is born of mind. And he says the whole thing is born of mind means there is no nothing. That's what he's saying. All these are born of mind means all these are born out of imagination. It is imagination. In that imagination, there is a method. Clear? In the imagination, there is a law. In the imagination, there is a cause and effect. Clear? There is a method in the madness, as he says. It's all imagination, but that imagination has a method and all. So born of mind means it's all born of imagination. What is born of imagination? Everything. Everything means everything. Brahma created everything in his mind. There is no creation at all. Imagination. Somebody is sitting and imagining that we are all sitting here. Huh? This is the story. Born of mind means there is one person called Lord Brahma, Ram Subramaniam. Brahman he is sitting and imagining. And what is it? What is he imagining? ஒரு வேதாந்த கிளாஸ் இல்லையா, அதுல அரவிந்தன் ஒருத்தர் பேசுறாரு, அதுல ராமசுப்ரமணியன் ஒருத்தர் கேட்டுன்னு இருக்கிறாரு இல்லையா. அரவிந்தனுக்கு என்ன பேசுறாருன்னு அவருக்கு தெரியல இல்லையா, ராமசுப்ரமணியனுக்கு என்ன கேட்கிறாருன்னு அவருக்கு புரியல இல்லையா. பேசுறவருக்கு புரியல, கேட்கிறவருக்கு புரியல, யாருக்கும் ஒன்றும் புரியல. ஆனா சம்திங் சீம்ஸ் டு பி, பட் சம்திங் சீம்ஸ் டு பி happening, and this happening is so real. And this happening is so real. And it is so real that you can't even consider the possibility that it is born of mind, born of imagination. Adha. The 7 great sages, the ancient 4, the Manus with their beings in me, they're all born of mind. Ella imagination. From them are these creatures of the world. Mind imagination in the 14 vandaanga. From the mind's imagination, these came. From them came the rest. If the origin itself is imagination, down the line, everything is imagination, isn't it? That's why we say, see, the person in blood and flesh and walking around for 60, 70, 80 years, the moment that person dies, what will they say? This person has become a story nowadays. Have you ever heard that? If there is a death in the family, some elderly person will walk into the house and say, idella kadaya maritippo, they will say. That person who has lived for 70, 80 years has become a story. Story means what? Story means what? It's all gone. Where did it go? How did it go? Imagination, like where it will go, how it will go. Are you able to follow? Born of mind. This is the meaning of born of mind. See, since he is talking about creation, Anshu, I remember I remember saying this. Since he is talking about creation and he's saying, I am the cause for all this creation and all that, it looks like he's agreeing as though there is a creation. So in and through that, he wants to convey the point also what? It is born of imagination. You follow? He's saying, I am the Karanam. He's saying, I am the cause. I created this. So when he's saying, I created this, it looks like he's agreeing that there is a creator, and then the creator has created something. So there is the creator, and then there is a creation. He wants to take this creator creation story with a pinch of the salt. Take it with a pinch of, don't take it so literally and start believing that there is a creator and creation and all that, because it is born of mind. So beautifully he says, it is born of mind. It's born of mind. Whose mind? Whose imagining? From whose mind it is born? Whose imagining? All this the intellect cannot comprehend. Now we are trying to comprehend it through intellect. The intellect cannot comprehend. Are you able to follow? Who's imagining? Logical question is, who's imagining? Because even to imagine somebody has to be there. No. So is Brahman imagining? Why will Brahman imagine? What is the incentive? What is the motivation for Brahman to imagine? No. Intellect can only ask these questions, but it can never understand the answer. Remember, this is knowledge. Very important in knowledge is to understand. Intellect can ask all questions. Some questions it can understand the answer. To some, it cannot understand the answer. Are you able to follow? Why it cannot understand is because at this point of time, not enough Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana and all that is not done to understand. Not that it can. At one point of time, it will understand. Anshu, are you okay? Born of mind. Beautiful is that word. Beautiful is that construction. Born of mind. Even the Puranic story says like that. At least Ganesha was not born of Parvati's mind. You know that, no? Ganesha is not born of Parvati's mind. How Ganesha is born? That's why even today we make Ganesha like that only, isn't it? How Ganesha was born? She wanted to go and have a shower. When the wife is having the shower, the husband has to stand outside. Yeah. And Shiva went out. Nobody is there because when Shiva goes, all the fellows went with Shiva. So she is left all alone. She wanted somebody to guard the house. What she did? There was some turmeric powder nearby. So she just made like some figure she made out of the turmeric powder. Ganesha was born out of that form. Clear? Correct? Puranic story says how all these people were born. They say they're all Manasa Putras. Brigu, Vivaswan, Sudama, Angiras, Atri, Vishwamitra, Vasishta. There are 7 rishis. List will differ. Every culture, every tradition, everything will have different list. Doesn't matter. But there are 7. Sapta. Mundaka Upanishad says Sapta 7. Ellame 7. அதுல தலைவர் தான் தப்பு தப்பா 8 பாடினார், isn't it? பாஷா மூவில அவர் தான் 8 பாடினார். அது 8 எல்லாம் கிடையாது, 7 தான் இல்லையா? உபனிஷத்து சப்த சப்த சப்த, இட் இஸ் 7 7 7 7 7. These 7 is born of Manasa Putras. Manasa Putras itself means what? Manasa Putras means what? I think I remember I would have said that also. The story of unborn children. Remember that story? Yoga Vasishta, beautiful story. The story of 3 unborn children. That's Manasa Putra. But you see it, a point of time will come where you'll actually start thinking it's real. It's real. Why you start thinking it as real? Because you don't pay enough attention. If you have paid enough attention, from the beginning you will understand it as unreal. But since you don't pay enough attention, it starts appearing real, isn't it? It's like looking at a movie and screaming in horror, isn't it? You know that nothing happened. No, you only went there. You only bought the ticket. You only bought the Pepsi. You only bought the popcorn. You only looked for the best seat. But all this will be forgotten in a split second, and you will start screaming in horror. No, correct? Why? Darkness. And first they will make you. First, what will they do? They'll make the whole thing dark. முதல்ல இருட்டாகணும்னா புத்தி வேலை செய்ய விடக்கூடாதுன்னு, isn't it? First make the fellow ignorant, put pitch darkness. Able to follow? Pitch darkness. Manasa Putras. Manasa Putras means born out of imagination. What is being born out of imagination? If you pay enough attention, you will understand that it is born of imagination. If you don't pay enough attention, it will appear as though it is there. Knowledge is that which makes you wise to pay the right attention. What is the right attention? In the city that never existed, there was a king and a queen. In the city that never existed, there was a king and the queen. Yoga Vasishta is one of the extraordinary stories of Yoga Vasishta. Anytime Swati says repeat a story, I will say the story only. She'll say repeat that story. I don't know, million times you would have heard that. Million times you would have heard that story. Repeat the story. Every time you'll say repeat that story, repeat that story. In the city that never existed, there was a king and a queen. And they had 3 sons. They had 3 sons who never entered the womb. How can you be born if you don't enter the womb? And they went to bathe in the river that have never seen water. Not dried up river, right? Yeah, it's not saying dried up river. See, dried up river also would have had water sometime in the past. They went to bathe in the river that never had any water. It means what? There was no kingdom. There was no king and queen. There was no 3 sons. There was no river. But what your mind does? What your mind does? The mind will imagine a kingdom. The mind will imagine a king and the queen. And the mind will imagine the 3 sons. You'll ask, what are the names of the sons also? You'll ask now, isn't it? Correct? You'll ask, what are the names? Who is smarter of the three? Who is handsome of the three? The three in the city that never, in the city that never existed. In the city that never, born of Anshu. This is what is known as born of. This is what is known as born of. From this, you understand how dangerous is the mind. It can create something and make you to believe that it is real. This is the mind. It will create something. Insubstantial thoughts is mind. These insubstantial thoughts, the mind combine and it will create something, and you will actually see it. And the person will say, I saw that. Yeah, I saw that. What can you do? Isn't it? Remember that example that we always give? The scientist during the Holocaust times was checking his sanity through a lizard. Remember that? This is not a story. This is real. Manasa Putra alla Purana alla story. This is not story. This is real. During the Holocaust times, in the 30s, Hitler took one guy and put that guy on solitary confinement. And you know solitary confinement? No. Yeah. Solitary confinement, mobile switch off pannilla, you will know what is solitary confinement. If you want to understand what is solitary confinement, switch off the mobile and see how you feel. Yeah. That is called solitary confinement. Yeah. You can't survive after that, isn't it? Solitary confinement, that fellow. After a few days, he can't recognize whether it is day or night, which day of the week is lost, which month is lost, everything is lost. Some crack in the wall, a lizard used to come. And the lizard was his only company, isn't it? The lizard was his only company. He writes. See, when he came back, he writes all that. Beautiful. He says, after a while, he started waiting for the lizard to come. Because it's the only company he has. So he waited for the lizard to come. Whenever the lizard comes, he is very happy. Whenever the lizard doesn't come, he is unhappy. All that. After a while, what happened? He started talking to the lizard. After a while, he started talking to the lizard. To his horror, one day, the lizard started answering his questions. Do you understand what is happening? The lizard started answering his questions. He writes, that day I knew I am losing myself, he says. He says, that day I am losing myself because I am the one who's asking the question and I am the one who's answering. Does lizard answer any of your questions? Oh, no, sir. You don't know. Shiva, in compassion, took the form of lizard and came and answered me. Now, what do you do? Narayana took the form of lizard and came and answered. Now, what do you do? You follow what I'm saying? Mind can, all creation happens out of mind. That's why we say all problems are self-created. Self-created means mind sits and creates it. There is no problem there. It is the self-creation. It is all created by the mind. Since it is created by the mind, and what is a conducive environment for the mind to create, to spin these stories? Darkness, ignorance. Darkness and ignorance is a conducive environment. Yeah. That's why we say, come out. That's why we say, see, even if a child is going and locking itself up in the room, you will not say, I'm respecting the privacy. If you say that, God should save you and your family after that. God only should save you. I'm respecting the privacy. Imagination. Very soon, hallucinations. Very soon, it will start seeing things. Because it's a conducive environment. Are you able to follow? Born of mind. அதுதான் அந்த மூவி தியேட்டர்ல அந்த டார்க்னஸ் கொடுத்தோம் எக்ஸாம்பிள். First thing, make it so dark. In the darkness, you forget that you did everything and you came and sat there, isn't it? And one horror scene will come and you will start screaming, isn't it? Jurassic Park, isn't it? There's no dinosaur there. But then people go under the seat also, isn't it? People go under the seat thinking that there is a dinosaur that is going to come on. Born of mind. Are you okay, Anshu? How do you know that you have grown? You laugh at it. You come out and you laugh at it. What? My God. How silly I was to go under the seat looking at the screen where there is no dinosaur. You follow? Mind can create. That's why he says, the 7 great sages, the ancient 4, the Manus with their being in me were born of mind. From them are these creatures. In a city that never existed, down the line, anything that was told, you should remember what? This entire story is happening where? The king, the queen, the children, the bathing, them getting married, them getting children, they're going in, all that is happening where? Vijayarangan. Enga nadakkirathu idallam? In the city that never existed. In the mind it is happening. In the mind it is happening. Since it is happening in the mind, you need something to light it inside and show. That's the buddhi, the intellect. Since it is happening in the mind, the intellect comes, lights it up and shows you very clearly. See now what is happening. When it lightens up, you laugh at it. When the buddhi lightens up, you laugh at it. What is the laughter for? All born of imagination. And what is the imagination? You are separate, God is separate. That imagination. That you are separate and God is separate. The reality is the two is one. Immediately they will say, the two is non-two. First they will say it is one. The two has become one, it is understandable, correct? No. You should not even say it as one. The two has become non-two. All born of mind. Is it okay, Anshu? Please explain again. Don't ask. Yeah. Please explain again. This is again explained. Don't worry. Again we will explain. With this,
Ramasubramanian has this.
Here's a question. In some ways, would it be correct to say that things are being projected onto a very large screen, like what happens in a cinema theater? Ram Subramaniam, you are perfectly correct. It happens at a speed, and it is the speed that makes you to believe something is actually happening there. It is the speed. Are you able to follow? See, the movie, very good example. Nowadays, all great masters give this projector and the movie in the the cinema screen example. If the speed is lessened, you can see the jerks, no? So in order to make the movement so seamless, it should happen at a speed. The mind running at a speed makes you to believe that something is happening. Correct. Would it be correct to say some things are being projected onto a very large screen, like what happens in a cinema theater? Yes. It is one man's imagination, no, isn't it? What is happening on a movie theater is also, it is one man's imagination, isn't it? Does it happen really long? It is somebody's imagination. You are right.
Sir, so we are living on this earth, right? So it is a very large space.
Yes.
So, and maybe if we have to use latest cinema concepts, we can say 3D,
Yes.
immersive experience, IMAX and all those things, right? So,
Yes.
Please help me draw a parallel. So is the earth itself sort of that screen? I mean, whatever is we see, right? I mean, when I see, I'm experiencing people around me, things around me, environment, right? 3D in 3D, right? And when I pinch myself, it hurts,
Exactly.
right? Because I have feelings and emotions and so on. So
yes,
can you please help? I mean, how to, because with the screen, right? I mean, even if something imaginary like real like the screen, but the projection which is coming from the projector to the screen, right? We react to the dinosaur and the horror movie and
Yes.
sudden sound and sudden
Yes.
frightening visuals and all that. But with something like the real pinch and pain that I'm feeling and
Yes.
real handshake that I'm having
Yes.
around with people around me and
Yes.
so on. Can you just help me reconcile with that little further, sir? Yeah.
Yeah. See, what is happening in reality now? Okay, all that is fine. Now, you pinch yourself, there is a pain. You pinch yourself, there is a pain. There is so many things around, which is so real. How do we understand that all this is born of imagination? Correct?
Yes.
How do we understand all this is born of imagination? Right now, intellectually, what you can understand is all this is temporary, all this is having a beginning and an end, all that is temporary, which has a beginning and an end. What would you call it as? Imagination. Again, I repeat, all that is temporary, all that has a beginning and an end. The beginning is not known, the origin is not known, the end is not known. Are you able to follow?
Yes.
Origin is unknown, the end is unknown, but something seems to happen in between. What would you call that as? You cannot call it as absolutely real. If you cannot call something as absolutely real, then can you call something as temporary real?
No.
Correct. That's all. Exactly. This is the simplest starting point of understanding how it is born of. Idilerndi we can develop further and further and further and further and further. We take it to the height of superimposition, etc. But this is the starting point I'm talking about. You follow?
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Reflect on this. Think on this. If you have still anything, next week we will take it up. Think on these lines.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Okay. With this, we conclude for